What do you do when you're misunderstood, accused, and treated unfairly? In one of history's most pivotal moments, Jesus stood before Pilate, not with anger, but with silence. This is the strength of stillness, the silence that saves. The night had been long and brutal. After being arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus was first taken to the high priest, where he faced initial questioning and mockery. As dawn broke over Jerusalem, the religious leaders, having already decided his fate, brought him to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. They needed Roman authority to carry out the death sentence they desperately wanted. The courtyard of the Praetorium buzzed with tension. The crowd that had gathered began to shout accusations. The religious leaders pressed their case urgently, claiming Jesus had declared himself a king, a direct challenge to Roman authority. He stirs up the people throughout Judea with his teaching, they insisted. He even claims to be Christ, a king. Their voices rose with practiced indignation, their accusations calculated to provoke Roman concern. Pilate, seated on the judgment seat, studied the man before him. This was not what he expected. No defiance in Jesus' eyes, no fear either. Just a profound calm that unsettled the governor. The accused stood bound, bearing marks of the night's abuse, yet with a dignity that seemed untouchable. Pilate, a man accustomed to power and its display, found himself intrigued. "Are you the king of the Jews?" Pilate asked, his voice cutting through the clamor of the crowd. The question hung in the air. Was this a political trial or a religious one? The distinction mattered to Rome, if not to the accusers. Jesus' response was measured. "You say so." But then came something remarkable. As the accusations mounted, as the religious leaders hurled charge after charge, Jesus remained silent. He offered no defense, no explanation, no counter-argument. The contrast was striking. Chaos all around, perfect stillness within. Pilate was bewildered. He had presided over many trials, seen defendants plead, argue, beg, but never this. "Don't you hear the charges they are bringing against you?" he demanded, gesturing toward the chief priests and elders. "Have you nothing to say?" But Jesus gave no answer, not even to a single charge. This wasn't the response of someone paralyzed by fear. This was purposeful restraint, chosen silence. In that moment, ancient prophecy came to life. 700 years earlier, Isaiah had written, "Like a lamb led to the slaughter, he opened not his mouth." This silence wasn't an accident. It was fulfillment. Every moment of Jesus' life had been moving toward this confrontation, not to fight against it, but to embrace it. The Roman governor found himself in an unexpected position. After questioning Jesus privately, he emerged to announce, "I find no fault in this man." Yet the pressure from the crowd intensified. Learning that Jesus was from Galilee, Pilate temporarily relieved himself of responsibility by sending him to Herod. But Herod, after mocking Jesus and receiving the same silent dignity in return, sent him back to Pilate. It was Passover, and tradition allowed for the release of one prisoner. Pilate, sensing the religious leaders' envy was the true motivation, offered them a choice: Jesus or Barabbas, a known insurrectionist and murderer. Surely, he thought, they would choose the peaceful teacher over a violent criminal. The crowd's response stunned him. "Give us Barabbas." The guilty would go free, and the innocent would be condemned. When Pilate asked what should be done with Jesus, the chant began, "Crucify him." The crowd's bloodthirst grew with each passing moment, their voices merging into a thunderous demand. In a final dramatic gesture, Pilate called for water. Before the crowd, he washed his hands, saying, "I am innocent of this man's blood." But history would remember his choice differently. The power was his to release Jesus, and he surrendered to the pressure instead. The verdict was pronounced, the sentence passed. Through it all, Jesus' silence spoke volumes. He had every right to speak. One word could have summoned legions of angels. He could have defended himself brilliantly, exposed the lies, turned the tables on his accusers. But he chose surrender instead. This silence wasn't defeat. It was the path to victory. This wasn't weakness. It was strength beyond comprehension. Sometimes faith looks like not fighting back. Sometimes love stays quiet and endures the cross. What kind of king refuses to defend his throne? What kind of God allows himself to be judged by his creation? This is the mystery at the heart of Christianity. Power displayed through apparent powerlessness, victory achieved through seeming defeat. In a world that demands we defend ourselves, that we speak up and fight back, that we never allow ourselves to be misunderstood or maligned, Jesus shows us another way. His silence before Pilate reminds us that our vindication doesn't always come through our own words or efforts. There is power in choosing not to retaliate, in refusing to match hatred with hatred. The story of Jesus before Pilate challenges our most basic instincts. When wronged, we want to right the record. When accused, we want to clear our name. When threatened, we want to protect ourselves. Yet here stands Jesus, silent before his accusers, surrendered to a greater purpose than self-preservation. His silence purchased our salvation. His restraint revealed God's resolve. His surrender secured our freedom. In that moment before Pilate, as accusations flew and justice failed, the Son of God demonstrated that the greatest power isn't in dominating others, but in laying down one's life for them. Jesus stood in silence so that grace could speak louder than guilt. His quietness before accusers paved the way for the loudest statement in history, the empty tomb that would follow. He remained silent before Pilate so that we would never have to stand silent before God's judgment. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. Isaiah's ancient words found their perfect fulfillment in Jesus' perfect silence. Subscribe to Faith Stories and continue the journey with us as we walk toward the cross and beyond. Praise the Lord.